Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm Lisa with Lisa Capen Quilts, and I feel like it's been a minute since I recorded a video for you. Time is just flying by, isn't it? Today I'm going to walk you through my newest mug rug pattern called Flower Party. Y'all, this mug rug is approximately 11 inches wide and 7.5 inches tall. So this is a great little snack mat, mouse pad, all kinds of uses for a mug rug. But here's two different versions, right? I feel like this mug rug is across the board, super beginner friendly and more advanced, and you can have fun in all the levels in between, right? So I want to try an experiment with you. At the end of this video, this particular mug rug is going to look way different. After I was done recording, I'm coming back, like I'm skipping all over the place today. I'm coming back and recording this after I'm done filming. But in the comment section, I just want to hear from you. When I'm done at the end of today's video, this mug rug is going to have a single line of quilting around the petals. But when I was done recording, I just wasn't happy with the way it looked. So I went back and I triple and quadrupled the line stitching or the quilting around each of the petals. In my opinion, I think it looks way better now. What do you think? Let me know in the comments either way. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm curious. What, all the different tastes out there. What do you think? Does it look better now or with the single line quilting? But I'm going to walk you through real simple and easy today, y'all. The tracing templates in the PDF, how the SVG file is laid out. So I will have Canvas Workspace out and open in today's video, but we're not going to really concentrate so much on that. And then we're going to move over and fuse all these pieces down using the placement guide. And then I'm going to walk you through doing the free motion quilting on this particular mug rug. But then I stopped recording and I had a lot of fun. So there's the quilting on the back once it's all finished with all the like triple and quadruple line stitching. I think that's gorgeous. And yeah, I hope you have fun and get creative with this mug rug, and let's go get started. Today we're going to get started with tracing our templates. So this mug rug pattern comes with 2 pages of tracing templates that have already been mirror imaged. Now you have 6 flowers, and each of the 6 flowers are slightly different sizes. You can use your favorite fusible. This one is Heat and Bond Light, and simply trace around each one of the shapes. Just going around and tracing right on the line. And it's pretty easy to see the shape without having to use a mirror or a light pad. Now, one of the important things, because each one of the 6 flowers are a slightly different size, I would make sure to label each one, because each one has a specific place it goes on the mug rug, right? And then I don't trace the circle in the middle. We're going to cut this out as one solid shape. And then the circles I just trace so that we can do that with a different fabric. So you would do that for each one of the 6 flowers, or you can use the provided SVG file. And let me show you how that is set up when you open the SVG in your cutting machine or cutting machine software. This mug rug comes with 3 different files. You have your PDF file, which is your instructions, fabric requirements, tracing templates, and a placement guide. And then it also comes with 2 separate SVG files, and one is formatted for Cricut users and the other is formatted for ScannCut users, and both should open up at true size. So whichever file you need, if you have a cutting machine, you would download that specific one. Today I'm using Canvas Workspace, and we're going to open up the SVG file. I'm not really sure with Design Space if it imports the colors like you see here on my screen, but with Canvas Workspace, you'll notice that 3 of the flowers have colors on them. Those are basically just there as a reference. But if you click on each one of the one that has colors, there's actually 2 different cutting files here. So you can delete one of those, right? Because we don't want it to cut out twice. And it's basically there as a reference. So you know just upon importing which flower is which. But in the PDF, there's also a little map that tells you which flower is which. You have your E flower up in the top left, your F flower in the top right, the B flower is here in the middle. Then you have your A flower down here, the D flower in the middle, and the C flower right here. So what's great about this is you could move all of the circles off the mat, and you could cut out each one of these or you could cut out all the flowers from the same fabric, right? You could load a fabric that's cut 12 inches by 12 inches and cut all the flowers out all at one time, just like this, and send that to your cutting machine. Or you could erase everything and cut out each flower using a different fabric. So you could put your F flower over here and the circle down here and load 2 fabrics at one time and send that to your cutting machine and just go through the motions for each one of your flowers. So you have tons of different options, and yeah, the cutting machine makes it great for cutting them out exactly right. So whether you're tracing using your fusible or you're using an SVG and cutting machine, you want to go ahead and cut out each one of the 5 flowers and their corresponding little center circles. And we're going to meet back at the cutting mat and fuse these in place using the placement map. Once you have all 6 of your flowers cut out with the little circles, we're ready to fuse them on top of your mug rug. To help with the placement, I've included a placement guide, and the placement guide is just going to help you overlap the flowers so that they all fit on top of your mug rug, allowing a 1/4 inch gap where the binding is going to go all the way around. With your placement guide, we're just going to follow it in alphabetical order: the A, the B, the C, the D, the E, and the F. And that's just going to overlap your flowers, and you'll see where they overlap. So to help me with the placement guide, I'm just going to use my silicone mat. And we're going to place it underneath the mat, and we can start with the A flower. And the mat just sort of grips the fabric so it doesn't move around. And we can just put the center of the flower right there. Then we're moving to the B flower. Of course, you can just eyeball it and fuse these right on top of your mug rug without doing all of this. Your C flower. And then your D flower is going to go over top just like that. Your E flower. And your F flower. Then you can heat up your iron and just quickly fuse each one of these flowers right in place. And it just takes a little bit of heat for a second or two just to fuse all of those flowers together. We're going to let that cool off, and once it's cool, we can peel this whole thing right up off the mat as one applique to fuse to the top of our mug rug. So we'll let that cool off, and we'll come back with the top of our mug rug. Once this is nice and cooled off, we're ready just to lift this right up off of the silicone mat, and it'll lift off as one applique piece just like this. So I have the top of my mug rug already cut according to the size on the very first page of this pattern. And what I did to help me with the placement is I just took a heat disappearing pin and a ruler, and I gave myself a little marking all along the edge, just marking off that 1/4 of an inch where the binding is going to go. You can just barely see it. And that's just going to help us center this piece right in the middle so that none of our flower parts get cut off by our binding. And once everything is in place, we can fuse this whole applique right to the top of our mug rug. There are so many different options you can do to quilt these things down, right? You could do a free motion stitch. I think that's what I'm going to do today. You could use a blanket stitch, a zigzag stitch, all kinds of decorative stitches in your sewing machine. We have to let that cool off for a second. All kinds of decorative stitches you could use, right? I feel like the bigger shapes make this pretty easy, even as a beginner, to stitch everything down. And at this point, you have two different options. You could stitch down your applique at this point without layering your mug rug with batting and back fabric. And all of your stitches would be hidden in the middle. And your mug rug, unless you go back in and do some quilting, would only be secured by the binding, right? You could always come in and do some quilting afterward. But what I like to do is go ahead at this point and layer the batting and the back fabric and stitch down my applique with those layers, actually quilting my whole mug rug as I'm stitching down my applique. And I'll just show you an example before we move over to the sewing machine. This is one that I did using a blanket stitch, and I did it after creating my layers, and so all of my stitching shows on the back, and it has quilted my entire mug rug at the same time as stitching down my flowers. So that's what we're going to do today, except I'm going to be using a free motion stitch to stitch down my flowers in this video. But I did want to show you what it looks like if you use a blanket stitch. Isn't that adorable? So one of the things I wanted to also show you is there's like so many different variances you could do. With the free motion stitch, instead of just stitching the outline, I think I'm going to come in and stitch some petal shapes onto my flowers as well. So with my heat erasing pen, I can come in here and just define some flower petals like that, and use that as a guide when I'm stitching my flowers. And these markings will erase when we put some heat on there. So see that? I'm just going to give myself some guides to go by. And they all don't have to be exactly the same on each flower. There we go. I think that's going to be super adorable. So I'm going to load the free motion foot on my machine. Then I'm going to off camera just layer this with some batting and back fabric, and we're going to meet over at the sewing machine. So here we are at the sewing machine, and you can see I have my free motion foot on, and that's how I'm going to stitch down and quilt this particular mug rug. You can also see that I've already used the back fabric as my binding. You could use a traditional binding or the extra 1 inch of your back fabric if you want to do a self-binding, which is a quick and easy way to just get this project binded. And I usually like to do that before I quilt or stitch on my mug rugs, and that's just me. I feel like my projects stay a little bit more square if I go ahead and just do the binding first, and I've already stitched that down. So now I'm just going to bring you along as I free motion stitch this mug rug, and I will probably speed this up. But yeah, I thought it would be fun to watch. think it was kind of just sort of go around the circle a couple of times, and I think it takes less attention to little knots. And certainly, if you use a thread that blends into your fabrics and doesn't contrast as much as this brown thread that's on these fabrics, then if your stitching isn't exactly perfect, then all the little sort of stops will sort of just blend in more, right? But backtracking and making these lines thicker and not exactly perfect will sort of make it look a little less messy, don't you think? So coming back over here to the cutting mat, now that we're done stitching, here is my mug rug with the free stitching. Now again, the contrasting thread really makes all your start and stops kind of jump out, right? I almost think if I were going to repeat the free motion on this particular mug rug, I would not only double the lines. Oh, I forgot to double my lines there. I would not only double my lines in the circles, but I would probably double all these lines. You know, double and triple them up so that it's all uniform and so that your start and stops blend in. But like I mentioned before, if you used a thread that blends in and doesn't stick out as much, I don't think the start and stops would matter. Certainly, I do think stitching it down like this adds some whimsical stitching and a finish to your mug rug, right? Here's the back, and I still have all the jump stitches to cut from the back still, but it's certainly super cute with the quilting on both sides, and it adds a little bit more detail to your flowers. But again, this look isn't for everybody, right? Certainly the easier and faster finish would just be to stitch the outside of the flowers. And I think this is just as adorable as the other one. So I hope this gives you some ideas. And certainly I don't want to scare you away from doing the free motion. It is a lot of fun. So give it a try if you haven't tried it yet. But I hope you have enjoyed this, and yeah, the link for this pattern is down in the description box. Have fun creating with this. We'll see you all next time.